Wait, isn't everybody at war over atheism?
Atheism? No, we've learned to get rid of all the isms in our time. Yes, long ago we realized isms are great for those who are rational, but in the hands of irrational people, isms always lead to violence.
Hello and welcome, and if you found yourself here listening to me, I truly feel bad for you. No, I do appreciate it. I appreciate anybody who takes time out of their day. Not that really with any kind of podcast, that's kind of the good thing, is that as long as you work outside or your boss doesn't really give a fuck what you listen to while you work, you can kind of just listen to whatever you want. So thanks for at least choosing this. I guess you have a decent amount of other options. This is the Tim's 2 Cents podcast. If you somehow have gotten to this without hearing about you, me, and BTC, I applaud your effort because it's probably pretty hard to do that. But if you did somehow do that, I do a live show with Daniel Brown and Zach Vole every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. There's a chat there, so get us there. You can, I guess, get involved with the show if you want to. You can tell us to fuck off and talk about something different. Or you can tell us you just love what we're talking about. We've had people try to pay Daniel to take the shirt off. He's taken his shirt off and no payment was ever made. So I guess keep doing that. Keep harassing Daniel. Sorry, I'm having some issues. I'm drinking sparkling water and now I'm just burping too much. And I'm trying to keep that out of the podcast. We'll try to make this as professional as we can for you folks. Since Daniel doesn't really, he kind of just lets me do this now and then puts it up and goes, good job. And then I go, I don't really know what you're saying. But yeah, so we do that show. We do Daniel doesn't have his own show yet. He was recently on one of our other shows on our network. That's what you can tweet us. Tweet me at BakersDozen93 on Twitter. Give me a name for the network because we are looking for that. But he was just on Unpopular Opinions, which is another one of our shows. It's with Ryan Tofil. And then I've met Ryan. He has another guy he normally does it with. I have not met him. I'm looking up his name right now. I think it is Brian Chai. I'm not exactly sure how to say that. I don't know. They have Twitter things that you can follow them on, but you can get them. They just put out a couple new episodes. Zach Vole also does his own show called The Coin Pod. He has interviews. His show that I do, well, I guess to start, the live show we do is pretty much focused on Bitcoin. We talk about libertarian stuff sometimes, but it's mostly focused on cryptocurrency, Bitcoin stuff having to do with that. Ryan's show and Ryan and Brian, I guess, their show is not really focused on Bitcoin at all. I think they actually, in their most recent one, had Daniel on and made the point that, well, if you want to listen to Daniel and not hear about Bitcoin, you can listen to this. Me personally, I'm not really sure why you're doing that. It's not like Daniel is that particularly interesting of a person. But if you like him, go ahead and check him out. Zach, his show is, like I said, the Coin Pod, so you can imagine it's pretty much focused on Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. He does an interview show where he has people on. They come on, talk about a product, a service, something that they're doing, or help explain something. He's always got good guests on there. He has a much better job than I do at actually interviewing people. There's a reason why this show is just me talking by myself, and it's not just because I don't want to have to put a little bit more extra work in. But Zach does a very good job. He asks great questions, has great people on there. So if you are interested in trying to learn something while you're working, check out his podcast. The reason why we're able to do all these different podcasts is, again, thank you to Chronologic, the Chronologic.network, which is a Ethereum-based project where they're looking at putting in and bringing a more decentralized approach to to contracts and debt contracts and stuff like that. So if you're looking for actual solutions to issues, if you want to push for more decentralized systems, that is definitely something to check out. Check them out at chronologic.network and let them know you heard about them through us. My show has started out as me just kind of prattling on about different belief systems till I got kind of tired of, I guess, just shitting on other things. Most of the episode was me complaining about a certain belief system, whatever it was, and then the second, for like half, but it was normally like 10 minutes, was me saying how it might be good. I've kind of switched over from that right now, and it's been not interesting. I can't say interesting, but trying to like actually talk about things, because I don't know. Growing up, I guess I don't really remember, because it was like right around 7th or 8th grade, so I would have been 14 around then. A teacher, I talked so much in class, and I talked so much about myself and wanted to make so much noise, that a teacher pretty much bribed me for a month of silence with a cake, because I was also a fat kid. So he bribed me and said, hey, if you can shut the fuck up for an entire month, I'll buy you this cake. And I don't know if he thought it wasn't going to work, but he very much underestimated how much of a fat child I was, where I went, fuck it, I like, the decision in my head was over so quickly as to decide, well, do I get cake or do I talk to these fucks? And cake won out very quickly and very easily. So, but as a side thing from that, I'm not sure if it was just like I realized that I didn't really like talking to people and that it wasn't that much fun, or I kind of internalized, hey, if you don't talk to people, you get this nice big rush of sugar, which was kind of bullshit, because when he gave me the cake, he then also said I had to share it with people. So I'm not really sure how much of a reward this was. But I do remember there being like a significant turning point then as to how much I like to talk and how I interacted with people around me. From about 14 till like 21, I said like all 5 words to people. I just sat there. I mean, if you're listening to the podcast, you're probably in something of the same boat. There's something to be said with podcasts where it does train you to just listen to a conversation. It's very one-sided, and it's not really conducive to you having a good conversation later. You can just go, oh yeah, I heard on this podcast. And no, most people don't want to listen to a sentence that starts out that way, but you might find some people. But there was definitely a change there in that. With that reward of sugar and bread and just deliciousness, that made me definitely less talkative, definitely less outgoing as far as just talking to people and telling people about things. And I still get that now, where I don't really see the point in telling people things. Like, I'm not going to keep something from somebody if it's something they need to know, or it's something that they're involved with me. But if they're not involved and it isn't like a serious issue that has to be brought up, I normally stay away from it. People definitely mistake it for, maybe it's not a mistake, but I'm just not friendly. And people take it as me being particularly not friendly to them because it's so bad, and I will just... Like, I will talk to people if it's at a work, or if for whatever reason they're hanging out with me a lot. If it's somebody at the gym a lot, like I will talk to somebody every single day for months, and then we'll just ignore them. For like, if you don't reach out to me, I'm not texting you. I'm not being like, hey, let's meet up, because I would rather just sit at my laptop and try to write shitty stories. So talking and doing the whole podcasting stuff, this is nice because I don't have to actually talk to somebody else, and I don't have to, unless we have a guest on, really have a conversation without anybody. Because if you haven't followed it at all, I've pretty much known Daniel since I was like 7. We at least had we knew of each other. We were in the same school, which was like 50 people in a high school. We became friends like probably a year or maybe 3 years before I graduated. Daniel dated my sister for a little bit, or at least tried to. It wasn't really that much of a dating thing. Don't tell his fiance now, because Daniel, I think we've at least talked about he is getting married now. Not to my sister. My sister's actually since married somebody else. but that, like, having him on the podcast and now Zach, now I've talked to them for so long that it's not as much me talking to a person as me just trying to get my ideas out into the conversation, which for podcasting is good. I've wanted to push this podcast in more of a direction of me not bitching or but kind of just like putting stuff out. Like if something happens during the week where I can just kind of like talk about, try to think things out, try to give myself advice, if that makes any sense, where I can kind of just talk myself through something. And I find that, like, when I try to think of what I want to talk about, I find that to be difficult, where I'm like, well, what is really even worth bringing up? And maybe this is just indicative of just me not living a very outgoing life. But I don't really have that many people that I've met in my life that have that interesting of lives. Maybe you do. Maybe you probably hang out with better people than I do. I grew up in certain areas that I've stuck to with who I hang out with. And then, as I was saying before, like how I can just stop talking to somebody. It's with most of my close friends, with Daniel, and I see him every week on this podcast. But even if we weren't doing that, we're not constantly texting each other. We're not constantly talking. I have one friend that I'm literally like, John Stewart used to do the podcast with us. I was probably like before Daniel, and since I was like probably like 8 or 9, I was like best friends with John. Like I said, we went to that same real small Christian high school. And so I was real good friends with John, saw him every day at school. I was in the same classroom pretty much all the time. And now, like, we text sometimes then too. I haven't texted him in months at this point, which is on both of us. We're both kind of that same, well, if I don't have anything that, like, explicitly important, I'm not just going to say, oh, hey, how's it going? It seems like a waste of time. But I'm trying to work on that, trying to, I guess, funnel, instead of me just, because I think too much, and I'm way too much in my head, like, all the time, and I analyze. I don't want to sound smart. I'm not like analyzing things and then coming to good decisions. I just, instead of doing things, and instead of like actually talking to people or I just go, well, that's dumb. Why would I do that? Why would I go do it? Like, why would I go enjoy myself? Why would I go have experiences? And specifically with the, like, talking to people, I have, where I don't often see the point in it. I don't see the benefit, because then I just go, well, this is just another person I have to talk to now. I don't want to talk to you. I don't mind the initial interaction. I don't mind the initial, like, oh, hey, how's it going? Or if you're talking to somebody new, to say, oh, hey, how's it going? Oh, fine, whatever. Oh, yeah, another day's fine, blah, blah, blah. What are you doing? Or wherever you are. I don't mind the initial reaction. The thing I do mind is the implied contract of continued interactions. So I like, and I do realize I need to work on that. I do realize I need to, regardless of if I see the benefit or not, because that is the issue, is because I think about things too much, and because I focus, or I can spend minutes thinking about something that would take seconds to do, I definitely can convince myself that it's not worth my time to talk to somebody. It's not worth my time to go say hi to some girl. It's not worth my time to ask for help from somebody. It's not worth my time to do whatever these things are, because it really does boil down to, one, like I said, the interaction has to continue from then on. And it's also just not wanting to kind of open myself up to people not wanting to talk to me. I like the idea of being the person. I've always liked the idea of being the person that doesn't talk that much, and then whenever they do say something, it's important, which is a bullshit. It's a bullshit kind of position to think of yourself in, because you're very inherently in that mindset. You're trying to manipulate people. You're trying to manipulate a position in your life. And while that's not necessarily wrong, I think it's somewhat, for one, it hasn't really helped me that much. It's not like I'm this master emotional manipulator. I'm just a social genius and I'm just rising to the top of every single social hierarchy I enter, and everybody just goes, oh, don't you know Tim? He just says great things and he's just so smart and funny. So it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of a bullshit thing. It's not really that interesting to begin with. Like, oh, you're just the guy that says things. Cool. But I want to turn, I guess, this into, let me come tell you about my week, but I don't know what to talk about. I don't like talking about something I'm doing that I haven't succeeded at. I don't like talking about how I fucked up talking to somebody. I don't like how I just like gave up on something, or I was too scared to say hello to somebody, or like, I don't know how to talk about that and it be interesting, but less so than that, because I know not necessarily, like, definitely not all of these episodes have been interesting. There's 22 of them, and I guess I should have said that at the beginning, the episode 22, not all of them are going to be that interesting, but I want to get to the point where I can just use this, use you guys, use people, like, you can actually give me some feedback. I want to talk about what I do, because I think it will help push me towards being more outgoing and being more like, oh yeah, I'll go do that, just see what happens. I want to have, I don't really know what I like. I want to learn. I want to have experiences. I want to, I sound like a 17-year-old, but I don't want to go to college. I want to go travel the world. But I do want to be able to tell a story, I guess. And it's like, I can, but some of them probably aren't the best to bring up on a public platform. And the rest of them, I'm too ashamed to bring up on a public platform. And it's definitely like like an opening yourself up to think, not in like, I'm not doing this in front of thousands of people. It's not like, this isn't some huge media platform, but at the same time, I don't like talking about myself, or when I'm like, people, I hate the question of, so what have you been doing recently? It's like, well, if you're asking me that question, we're most likely not involved enough for you to care about anything I'm really doing recently. And if you do care, it's not going to be that interesting in the first place. So leave me alone and let's just talk about something. Let's just make jokes about something. But if I can do both of those things, if I can bullshit, make up jokes, and then also talk about, hey, yeah, okay, like the other day I had something of a weird weekend where I just had people asking me for strange things. I was at the store. I don't know if you have a giant eagle out by where you guys are, but I had a guy, as I was walking out, I'm carrying at first, I don't know why you approach a man like me in Giant Eagle anyway. Giant Eagle is just like a grocery store. They have like all the food, chips, everything, like a little, like not dining area, but where you can come and you can get fresh, like rotisserie chicken or shit like that. But then they also have like lunch meat, cereal, like toiletries. Somebody asked, like, I'm carrying a package. I have 2 packages of sausage, milk, ice cream, like wet wipe pads for like to replace toilet paper, because I eat a diet of eggs and broccoli and ground beef, so like nothing's ever clean, if that's not a sick enough image for you. And what else did I have? I also had like just weird shit. And so I don't know why you come up and talk to this person in the first place, but a guy, I was walking up and he was walking down the aisle and he turned around and he said, "Hey, young blood," or whatever, you want to, what do you say? Do you want me to pay for those? You can get those for half off. Let me use my food stamps card. like the whole thing, and I've gone off before, and I spent the entire last You Mean BTC episode pretty much saying this, of if you can do stuff like that, if you can do agorism where you're, well, that might be agorism just because it's like taking away from, like you're saying maybe bleeding, like the system like that, but I couldn't really make that connection in my head, and I just really I just wanted to leave. I wanted to just go home. I think I bought peanut butter too. I just wanted to go home, eat my peanut butter, put too much peanut butter on things and eat that. I didn't want the hassle of like I didn't even know how that would work. I just feel like awkward just standing there as a guy. Oh, here's the cash now, sir. Maybe if I wasn't doing something, or maybe if I was more stoned or something, or if I was just like, yeah, sure, fuck it, whatever, I would have done it. But I don't know what it is about me, because he walked past like a lot of people to ask me, and he then, after me going, oh no, thank you, man, it's just whatever, it's I was just gonna pay with my card, I don't have cash. I did have cash, so I lied to a person. That's the interesting. But regardless, he then walks away, and then there's people who have followed up the aisle and are now passing us. And now I'm walking down the aisle, about getting ready to turn around. There's people between us, and he shouts out after, yo, I got $400 on this card. And I give him a thumbs up. I don't know what else to do, because I'm always at a loss as to what to do in a lot of social situations. I don't know how to respond to a man telling you that he has $400 on the EBT card and he's trying to get to spend it. I don't know what to do that with. Besides, I guess, just to say yes. I probably should have said yes. This story would have been more interesting if I said yes, but I don't know if I'm liable for something there, if I'm contributing to fraud. I feel like they wouldn't care, because it's at least like the wealth. I don't even know who gives out food stamps necessarily, but I feel like they wouldn't care, because at least it's getting used and it's kind of justifying their overinflated budget. But at least would have been a more interesting story if I did that. And then if I got like half off ice cream, it'd be, I guess, cool. I wasn't even getting it for myself. I'm not lying there. Like the whole thing with the cake before and the teacher, that taught me my lesson. I'm not a fat kid anymore. Then also, I had, who was it? I was driving over to my parents. I live about 10 minutes away. And I'm kind of, to both of these situations, I'm kind of jealous of these men, like their willingness to talk to a stranger, and their willingness to just like go, yeah, fuck it, I'll just ask like a question that most people are going to go, what? Like the first time. Or like just to be willing to interact with somebody in public. I try my best at that. I normally am awkward. Speaking of being awkward, I had last week, I stopped. I was in a Walmart, a different one than I'm usually in. I was buying stuff. Again, I'm walking around with some kind of weird assortment of products, and I asked somebody if they knew where like freezer bags were, and the guy just looked back to me and went, "Nah, I wouldn't know. I don't work here." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I know, man. I know you don't work there." He said, "Why do you think I work?" And I was like, "Yeah, never mind." Then his girlfriend was like, "Oh, I'd know," blah blah blah, and like sent that, but. So a lot of time, whenever I talk to people in public, something gets fucked up, and people are like, "Why are you talking to me?" But anyway, driving over to my parents, I think it was a Saturday night, which shows where my life is. Where I'm going at 8:00 on a Saturday and going, "Hi, Mom and Dad, how are you?" I guess I'm trying to be a good son. I don't know. They really appreciate it, but whatever. I was sitting at a red light. You come across a bridge, and then it's not on a timer or anything, so you kind of just got to sit there as far as the light goes. And the people kind of like point at me, or the people don't, just the guy in the driver's seat. I see him out of the corner of my eye. He's motioning to me, and then I look over, and he like spins his hands, like, "Roll your window down." So I roll it down, and he points his finger over. And this is like, the best way I could describe would be, or not the best way, like from my estimation, it's like a late 30s, what I think is a black couple. Apparently, according to him, they weren't a couple, because he goes, and this is me trying to put myself out there, because I still haven't. This is the problem, is anytime I put myself out there and it doesn't come into anything. He tells me to round down the window, and then he goes, "Hey, yeah, this is my girl, but don't worry, we're just friends. She really likes you. She likes white guys. She thinks you're hot, blah, blah, blah. Don't worry, we're just friends." So then I just look at him, because I'm like, this is a hooker, maybe? Like, why isn't she talking? And while he's talking, she's just like, you know that in movies where the people, like, they don't want to be seen in the car, so they just like slowly lower their chair backwards, and they kind of like go out of frame. She's doing that, and then just like laughing and like waving her hands at me, just like, ha, I didn't want him to do this. And I kind of just sit there, look at him, laugh, and he goes, "Oh, you gonna pass this up?" And I was like, no, like, the light has turned green now, so I'm like, no. I yell my number out. Maybe she didn't get it, but I haven't gotten a text yet, so I feel like I deserve some kind of a reward for at least putting myself out there, but I haven't gotten it. But yeah, I guess I don't know what I did different this weekend that made people want to talk to me, because some days I go out of my way to just try to talk to people in public, and like I said, it doesn't always go well. Sometimes people look at me like, "Why the fuck are you talking?" Like, fuck off, man. Like, I'll say something to like an employee someplace, and then they're just like, "Why are you talking to me right now? Just let me do my job." And I feel for them. I get that. I get annoyed whenever people try to talk to me while I'm working. But, whatever. But I guess I'm all of this to say, I need more fans, first off. I need more people to listen to the podcast. I need you guys to share the podcast. I need you guys to force your families to listen to it. If you are a parent and you listen to the show, well, God bless your children, because they need all the help they can get. But force them to listen to it. Tell them that you learned everything, and that you're your godfather is me. Just make me godfather of your children, because I need, even if it's in just a couple of years, I'm fine with like that. I'll do it with podcasts too, but normally it's like artists where they just die and then they become famous. I'm fine with that, as long as I can be assured that's actually going to happen. So I need you to just groom my fans for me. Besides that, I need more Pittsburgh fans. I also just need to travel a little bit more. I'm going out to see Daniel in 2 months, I guess, for his wedding. That's the first time I'm going to Minnesota. I'm thinking about maybe going to Toronto before then. But I need more people to recognize me from doing, not that, it doesn't really work for this because this doesn't have a video, but I need more people to recognize me from YMB. I need to be let into places. I need better seating at restaurants, and I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to get a bigger social clout. I don't know how to get better social standing, but I feel like I can do it through talking, and if we can just share it more. Like, if you don't have to be a boss at work. I know no bosses are listening to this, because I'm constantly just like, yeah, whatever happens. But if you just play the podcast, you don't even have to listen to it. You can put headphones in and listen to the other stuff, but then on your computer, play my podcasts throughout the office, because there's going to be a certain percentage of just either psychopaths or just nihilists or people that just don't care how they spend their time, who are going to like this and are going to share it or going to tweet me. I just need more people to do that. I need more people to follow this, so then I can have not the confidence, but I can go, hey, I'll just do this because it'll at least be a cool story to tell. Because I that's like my favorite kind of podcast, is just people talking, is just people telling a story. Something that something happened this last week, and I just have to rant about it now, and I have an issue with people. And I'll do an ad here at this point. I guess I'll try to finish this whole episode out with a little bit of a rant and my issue with people. After I've already explained that most of my issues come from myself, I have a little bit of a problem with the rest of the world too.
Hey guys, today's show is brought to you by Chronologic.network. Chronologic is an Ethereum-based project that aims to solve time-related problems on the blockchain. Through Chronologic's 3 core products, the Ethereum alarm clock, debt smart contracts, and the day token minting mechanism, they solve the problems of payment scheduling, crypto loan time constraints, and unstable token launches. Find out more at chronologic.network.
And there you got to hear the wonderful, soothing sounds of Daniel Brown. He is involved with every podcast on this network, regardless if he has his own grubby little fingers in the pie for the actual show. My issue with these people talking to me, and then with also in situations where I'm required to go out of my way to talk to somebody, is I think we all have to have a little bit more... Now, fuck it. We don't all have to do something. It'd be easier for me, and I think it's a nicer thing to do if we do forgive people a little bit more for accidentally trying to just start a conversation with us and not treating them like some kind of a fucking weirdo for not just staring at their phone. I'm not somebody who makes this argument about how people are less social now because they have phones, because I'm sure people didn't really talk that much before. I'm sure they looked at books or they read newspapers and all this shit. We don't have to just because, and I do this and I'm guilty of this, but just because somebody goes out of their way to talk to you and say hi or whatever, as long as you're a guy, there's a difference. If it's a girl, if a guy's talking to you, he's probably unless he's literally just like, hey, do you know where this is? If it's anything besides that, if it's anything about how your day is going, if again, I was talking before about bosses listening to this, if there's some kind of a girl listening to this, take this advice. Not that you need it, and I doubt there is in the first place. But if a guy is talking to you in that state, or if there's a girl talking to you, it gets a little more confusing then. But if a guy's talking to you, it's just because he wants to fuck you, probably. You can probably assume that. But just because, as a guy, just because somebody comes and talks to you, you don't have to treat them like they're being weird. You don't have to be, and I don't mean this in necessarily like somebody hitting on you. I just mean this in general, like, oh, you're just in the store. Someone's like, oh, hey man, how's it going? Do you know where blah, blah, blah is? Yeah. Did you ever buy this? And like, just having a conversation, I think us just as people, if we're willing, like we can get a lot of information from Google. We can get a lot of information from the internet. We can get a lot of information for stuff like this where you can just look at your phone. But there is something nice. There's something convenient about just being able to ask someone next to you if you're both in the same place. You have some kind of shared experience where you can either talk to them or ask them a question if you just have an issue with something or you don't know where something is. I have like people, and I've done this to people and then people have done this to me, where if I'm just like standing in line in the store and I try to make a comment about something taking long, people like will look at you like, oh, you're going to cause a problem? Like just because someone's voicing an opinion besides just slack-jawed silence, just staring at their phone, just going, I wonder when the line's going to, like, if you make like a joke or something like that, let's be a little bit more forgiving of people making things weird by putting themselves kind of into a situation. I don't want you to talk to me unless it's going to be about how you're going to donate me more money, or if you're going to give me a show. So if you're going to give me something to talk about on the show. So the rules for talking to people, I think, in public should be, and regardless of what the rules are, I think we should be more accepting, be a little bit more like, hey, the person just, they talk to me. It's weird. They're being weird, but hey, they're friendly. There's something beneficial to being friendly. The issue, I think the rule should be, you either have to be extremely nice to the person, compliment them on something, help them out, give them some helpful advice or whatever it is, or you act so strangely and ask them the vaguest questions and then also see if they want to date whoever you're with, who may or may not be your wife, and you may or may not be swingers. You have to at least do something strange enough that person's going to remember. Make their day different. Because why not? Like, strange can be bad and it can be negative, but it's never boring, at least. So I guess let's not be boring anymore. I don't know what that means, but I think if we try to make the world less boring, I mean, that's kind of a little, I don't know what that really means. But to have a little bit more fun in our lives, have a little bit less concern with something being normal or the kind of standard way of doing things where we're in public, but you don't want to talk to people. You just want to keep your head forward, not look at anybody, not make eye contact. Just don't everybody else is scary. Let's have a little bit more interactions, I guess, because if we keep going the way we're going to eventually get to where we just believe that every single one of our neighbors is probably trying to kill us. Every single one of our neighbors is some asshole with a different political opinion, because we can divide ourselves up into 30 different ones, so we can always find a problem with somebody. Let's level a little bit more connected, guys. But yeah, I don't know. That's the show. Follow me again at Baker's Dozen 93. Check out all the other shows we have. Check out chronologic.network. Thank you, Daniel, for putting this up. Hope you guys liked the show. Let me know what you did like, what you didn't. And I don't know, give me suggestions. Tell me what I should be going and doing. What groups should I join in my life? Do I go rock climbing? Do I go kayaking? Do I go whitewater rafting? Or do I just go to a coffee place and then just yell at strangers? Who knows? I'll see you guys next week. Thank you. Bye.